My first love suddenly broke my heart, saying, "You deserve better," and claiming our intimate moments were too much. After months of sweet memories, I was left alone, crying on the sofa. Was it my fault she never set boundaries? I still ponder what went wrong. Apologies for the lengthy post. Approximately a month and a half ago, my ex abruptly ended our relationship. Abruptly, as in on a Monday, we were having a pleasant day, texting each other and sharing photos because she was happy. Then the following morning, she coldly informed me that she wanted to talk. In the afternoon, during a voice call, she announced that we were breaking up, without even allowing me the chance to express my opinion. We had been together for roughly 3.5 months, which I understand is not a long time. However, this was my very first relationship, my initial experience of attraction, and my first time loving someone. On the other hand, I was her fourth boyfriend, and none of her previous relationships lasted longer than 6 months or so, she claimed. According to her, I was the best partner she had ever had, caring, lovely, understanding, and a good listener. To me, she was a wonderful girl, the best I had ever been with, albeit I did not have much to compare. Actually, we knew each other for a year, as we both began working at the same time on the same project as remote developers. We got along well, although I am quite shy and never initiated a friendship with her. We had fun together as friends at our workplace's Christmas party, where we danced a bit, took some photos, and I accompanied her to catch her transport so she would not have to go alone. I did not think much of it. I did not even consider the possibility of developing a relationship with someone. Time passed, and in September she left the job, which affected her significantly. I felt a bit saddened, but we discussed meeting about a month later, and we did. It turned out that it was an actual date. A date? What? How could that be? Although nothing significant happened, we maintained our contact and she began to engage more with me. I was quite confused. Was she just being nice, or perhaps she liked me? I was experiencing something strange. I liked her. A week later, we had a video call and I gathered the courage to ask her if she wanted to meet again, and we did, to watch a movie. It was delightful. We enjoyed some food and then watched the film. When it ended, she suddenly kissed me. What is this? It was so special, and then asked me out, to which I obviously replied yes. I stupidly asked if that meant we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and she affirmed it. That was possibly one of the best days of my life. Now that we were official, we learned more about each other through our conversations. We agreed on many aspects, such as wanting a serious, long-term, and exclusive relationship. She expressed how she talked about me to her parents and friends, mentioning how kind I was and that she liked me. I was nearly overwhelmed with embarrassment. I never thought I would hear something like that from someone like me. By the way, you might think I had low self-esteem, but that is not the case. I loved myself in everything, but I had always thought I would never experience such compliments. The following week after our date, she invited me to her home. It was rainy, and she had planned it beforehand. She lived with her parents, and I met them. They were quite friendly and nice. This may seem too fast, but I did not mind at all, as I live with my parents too. By the way, I actually live a bit far from her, about 1 hour by bus, or an hour and a half if I need to combine different transport options, since the schedule is quite poor. We shared a lot of common interests and could talk about various topics daily. Sometimes these conversations lasted a bit, while other times they extended for an hour or more. We aimed to have a date once a week. However, there were moments when 3 weeks passed without a date because she was busy. She was stressed about job hunting, and I encouraged her to focus on that. I did not mind and thought it was essential for her to be well. I apologize for the potentially unimportant details, but I wanted to express what has been on my mind. To get to the point, the week after I visited her home, 2 weeks into our official relationship, we went to the cinema again. Well, the heat of the moment took over when we kissed a bit. I asked her if I could touch and caress her, always seeking permission before doing anything and ensuring she enjoyed it. Eventually, I started softly playing with her chest and then underneath her clothing, touching her skin. She appeared to enjoy it quite a bit based on her reactions, so I inquired if my hand could go a bit lower. Again, I received a yes, and I gently stimulated her. I was surprised by how wet she was. She was enjoying it, and after a while she asked me to stop so we could continue watching the film. Well, we could not engage in such activities for long anyway. Nevertheless, I was happy she liked it, and she seemed pleased too. However, a day or two later she told me she felt awful about it. It broke my heart at that moment, but I kind of understood since we were both virgins, by the way. I apologized and expressed that, as she knew I had sought her consent before proceeding. I emphasized that the heat of the moment had affected both of us. She acknowledged that I was correct, but she still felt that way. I apologized again and assured her that I would give her space and avoid discussing it again until she felt better. I felt terrible about that situation. I even cried for a while. We did not see each other for the next 2 weeks. I guessed it was a combination of needing space and being busy. Then came her graduation, to which she had invited me. I brought her a bouquet of tulips and some chocolates. She had a small gift for me as well. This took place at her home, where we had a meal before heading to the ceremony. Afterward, we enjoyed another meal, this time with her parents, went for a walk, took photos, and later had dinner with two of her female friends whom she introduced me to. We then headed to a nightclub where we had a lot of fun dancing. She was wearing a beautiful dress, and while dancing, I asked if I could hold her by the hips and touch a bit of skin. I meant to keep it within reasonable limits. While dancing, I sought her consent, and she said she was enjoying it, which made it fun. Then she told me to stop because she wasn't liking it anymore. I asked why, particularly since she had earlier agreed. She explained that it was hard for her to say no. I felt awful because I despise hurting someone unknowingly. I asked her to please communicate that to me directly. I do not mind if she wants to do nothing or anything, I just do not wish to hurt her, which is why I ask for consent. It's not a requirement, just an attempt to explore things. I apologized several more times afterwards since she brought it up in the following days. I felt awful while at home, even crying to my mother, though I did not reveal the reasons behind my feelings because it was a challenging topic to discuss. However, she helped me feel a bit better, advising me not to fret about whether things would work out or not. Yet my discomfort did not fade away. Things genuinely were quite nice. We had numerous common interests and hobbies. To be honest, I wanted to spend more time together, but there were instances when she could not. I understood and encouraged her to dedicate her efforts to job searching and preparing for interviews. I assisted her with English and programming when she let me, and she expressed gratitude, saying she always learned a lot. I also recognized some of her shortcomings. She was almost always late, making me wait for her sometimes for 30 minutes or on the last occasion almost an hour, considering the 1 hour and 30 minutes of travel time back home. However, I always reassured her that I did not mind waiting because genuinely I did not. I am used to waiting and I am patient. Despite this, we always enjoyed lovely dates together. We revisited the cinema incident, and she told me she was fine with it now, which made me happy. Then as we approached our last date after 3 weeks without seeing each other, and after she seemed to ghost me after planning video calls to watch a movie or play some games, she mentioned, since she did not specify a time, that it was not confirmed. We had a serious discussion about sexuality and intimacy. She told me some very nice things, like that she thought about me when she touched herself. I shared my experiences too. I asked if she wanted to try a few things, and I proposed some ideas. She expressed interest in those plans, and I made it clear there was no pressure for anything. We would let time take its course. She agreed. I meant it. While I have my needs, I am not in a hurry to rush into anything. It is a significant step for me, and it is important. I also told her I would wait as long as necessary for her to have time for dates, emphasizing that I had confidence in my feelings. She mentioned it was difficult for her to discuss feelings and that she did not want to fall too deeply in love for fear of getting hurt. I accepted that since I also want to avoid such pain, but I loved her immensely. I sensed that she had been hurt badly before. She had shared hints of that with me. Then she got a job. I was incredibly happy and proud of her. We had a date planned for Saturday, our last, and I brought her some thoughtful gifts, chocolates, a purse that I had given her last Christmas which was a bit large, and I adjusted it myself, along with a handwritten letter congratulating her on her job and a game from Steam for her to enjoy during her well-deserved break from job hunting. To celebrate, I invited her wherever she wanted to eat, and everything was as lovely as ever. We found a nice outdoor spot to sit where no one was around. We kissed, and she initiated some passionate kisses. I asked for permission to caress her body, including her chest and backside, after our previous discussion, and she agreed. I noticed how much she cherished it. It felt really special. Toward the end of our date, we discovered a photo booth and attempted to take some pictures. Unfortunately, it did not work out. We ended up gazing into each other's eyes, and in that enclosed space, the heat of the moment returned. We kissed again, and I asked if I could touch her gently. After a bit, I was massaging her chest and backside. I did not attempt anything more intimate, and I asked if I could see her chest. She consented, and I treasured the view, even kissing it for a while. And that was it. She enjoyed it. We discussed it briefly, and then time ran out. I would have to wait around an hour for the bus and another hour to reach home. That night, we played games online with 4 of her friends, had a wonderful time, and the following day was enjoyable as well. Then came Monday, as I mentioned at the beginning, which led to one of my worst nightmares. When the video call began, I first expressed my hope that nothing bad had happened to her or her family. Thankfully, that was not the case. However, she was breaking up with me coldly and emotionlessly. I shattered. I asked why I cried. She stated that I deserved better, someone who could spend more time with me and give me more compliments. She asserted that she did not want to engage in the activities we had done in the photo booth, neither with me nor anyone else. This devastated me even more. I reassured her that such actions were not important to me and that I loved her, emphasizing my feelings for who she was, not the actions we undertook together. Still, she had made her decision unilaterally, insisting that it was essential to me. The pain was overwhelming. She even offered to pay for my ticket to an event we had planned for Saturday, but I declined. I suggested we could remain in contact if it made things easier for me. I stated that I needed time to think. Well, I don't believe much more was said than wishing her the best and such. Goodbye, forever. I fell onto my bed, feeling almost like a zombie, then retreated to the sofa and cried with my mother. I later sent her a text expressing my confusion over how sudden this all was, how I did not mind at all not engaging in those activities, and how I appreciated her, both her good qualities and her flaws. I thanked her for being who she was and for her parents' kindness. The following day, she responded with the same sentiments she had expressed during the call, stating that she had reflected on everything and made her decision, with no possibility of turning back. She added that it had not been easy for her and that she should have established clearer boundaries, though to be honest, she had not set any boundaries at all to start with. It was all reliant on me always asking first. She mentioned that she disliked what I had said about the flaws in our relationship. I meant to convey that nobody is perfect. I felt a mix of sadness, anger, and numerous emotions all at once. I left one last message, which I regret, asserting that it surely was easy for her since she had frequently expressed her reluctance to share her feelings, insinuating that she perhaps did not have real emotions for me. I deeply regret that message. Anger clouded my judgment. She read it and never replied. There has been no contact since then. She removed me from Discord group chats and unfriended me in a game. A week later, I made the difficult decision to delete her contact information from everywhere. I do not even have her phone number anymore. Yet after what I believe was 6 or 7 weeks, February 11, I am okay. Truly, I love myself, I have my confidence, my smile, and my love for my family. Still, occasionally throughout the day, I find myself reflecting on it all, not in a sad manner, but rather as a learning experience. Sometimes I wonder if I could have salvaged it or if it was my fault. I feel guilty. I want to know your thoughts on the situation. I sincerely apologize for the lengthy post. I needed to express this deeply to someone. I have never shared this with anyone before. My mother knows some details, but I do not want to burden my one true friend whom I speak to daily with this, particularly since he has also never experienced a relationship, and it would be awkward for him. Thank you again for allowing me to share my experience. I truly consider it a learning experience nonetheless. Regarding seeking her consent, those instances I mentioned were the only times I asked for permission concerning intimate matters. I have nothing to gain by being dishonest here. In summary, my girlfriend ended our relationship unilaterally, claiming I had broken boundaries that were never explicitly stated and on which she herself had kind of wavered. She never even granted me a second chance. Story 2. After a decade of marriage built on struggle, betrayal shattered my world. His illicit affair was hidden behind just a friendship with an old love. Discovering men out there a woman knows, I'm left questioning, should I stay with the man who hurt me or find my own happiness? I will begin directly here. I met my husband in college when I was a freshman. He is the first and only love of my life. He is 2.5 years older than I am and was a junior in college. I struggled to pay my first year of college tuition and was not able to return for my second year. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, decided he wanted to take a break from college, worked full-time, and rented a house. He offered for me to move in with him to help support my return to college. We dated throughout college and graduated together. Fast forward a decade, we got married, held professional executive jobs, sold our first home, built our second home on 40 acres, moved out of the city, and had 2 children. We loved each other and quarreled with one another. Despite my desire for a great marriage, we did not have one. My husband chose to take many trips with his father several times a year, taking time off work. He would often say that his father was getting older and that this could be his last year for such trips. This continued for over 20 years. My husband also enjoyed golf outings every summer with his best friend, taking time off work to do so. My husband worked constantly at home during all hours of the day as his job was with an international company. I was not a perfect wife. I expressed complaints and became upset whenever his trips and outings approached. I was distant and did not communicate much with him because I constantly felt as though I was being taken advantage of. I had to take care of the children, and one of our children had a medical condition that required constant attention. We were unable to take much time away from our kids since no one else could care for the medical condition. I had a heart-to-heart conversation with my husband and told him that he needed to set aside one day each year for me. I referred to this as Wife Day, although I actually used my own name. I told him that I did not mind which day it was. He just needed to choose one and adhere to it every year, just as he did with all his annual trips and outings with his dad and friends. He understood and assured me that he could do that. In 2017, 6 years later, he finally took me away for a night on a golfing trip. Yes, I love to golf. I was thrilled that we finally had a night away from our children for the first time since becoming parents. Our children were 12 and 14 years old at the time. Better late than never. However, I was not a happy wife. My husband had been working away from home almost 9 years, spending 3 to 4 nights each week gone. This took a toll on our family. I felt terrible for him and did not press much about our one day each year. Life was difficult for us in terms of finding time together as a family. I am grateful that my husband did not fuss over home projects and lawn maintenance. He prioritized having fun through activities like biking, golfing, and riding every weekend. Enough about my life story. I had to quit my job when my children were young to care for our daughter's medical condition. My husband and I were exhausted from almost 9 years of living apart part-time. I had been trying to return to work for several years by 2019. My husband and I had marital troubles for many years, but 2018 to 2019 were the worst. I lost my mother in early 2019, and during that period, my husband reached out to an old female friend who had lost her mother in 2018. I did not know her or that he was conversing with her for many hours each day. She lives in North Carolina and came to our state, spending the night with my husband. He enjoyed it so much that he traveled to North Carolina to stay with her while I believed he was working. In the summer of 2019, I discovered women's earrings in his dress shirt. I was uncertain whether they belonged to a female client he worked with or if she had been in his vehicle. I knew he was acting differently. To the men reading this, a woman knows. She will always know what you are up to. You cannot hide your deceit. I sensed something was wrong. My husband changed his passcode on his iPhone, which he had never cared about me accessing before. He tried his hardest to keep the sexual aspect out of the discussion, insisting it was just a friendship and that she was helping him with our marriage as she also had marital problems and was divorced. Yes, she was aware that he was married. I requested to speak with her and had her call me. My husband agreed, but he would not provide me with her name. That did not sound like a mere friendship to me. He seemed concerned. I wanted to ask her whether she was having sex with my husband. When she called me, I posed that important question. She nervously responded, no. I could tell she was apprehensive while talking to me. I told her not to lie for my husband. She denied sleeping with him. He denied it as well. I wanted to believe them, but I knew deep down, primarily because of how my husband was treating me. He had become distant. Sex with him was non-existent, which had not been the case previously in our 27 years together. I could not prove anything. I became relentless and went through all of our bank records, discovering he had hidden some from me related to an account he closed. I stated that I wanted all the bank records or I would consult a divorce lawyer. Let me provide you with a timeline concerning when he was having the affair and when I ultimately discovered the truth. I began to realize that my husband had changed around our June 2019 anniversary. He mentioned that he knew I was unhappy and suggested we see a marriage counselor on our anniversary. I did not respond well to this suggestion. I accused him at that moment of seeing someone else. He became angry with me, resulting in an unnecessary argument. In reality, he likely did not want to have sex with me on our anniversary because he was going to North Carolina to see his girlfriend for the first time at her home. The bank records corroborate this, as he admits to having first gone there from June 22 to June 25. The bank statements also revealed that he purchased her a new phone worth $1,000 on May 16. The girlfriend from North Carolina visited our state on June 3 or June 4, and my husband spent 2 to 3 days with her while I worked tirelessly at home. I was preparing our house for my husband's coworker and his wife, who were visiting us from Japan. My husband was supposed to return that Friday night, but he claimed he was traveling from a worksite at a client's plant, though he was actually with her. Consequently, his coworker traveled with his wife without my husband, which I found peculiar. However, that was what my husband had planned and wanted. I discovered many other lies, but I did not uncover the full truth until a year later. Even though I pieced these things together well before my husband confessed, he maintained his innocence until he could no longer do so. It was finally in November 2021 when the affair partner from North Carolina sent me a text at 10:30 p.m. revealing that my husband was a liar and a cheat. I was in bed when I saw the text and replied, "Oh no, really?" My husband asked who had texted me, and I showed him the message. He finally appeared ashamed and realized that I had uncovered the truth. My husband never wanted me to learn the truth because he feared losing me. That is what he told me. In July 2020, I had written him a 17-page letter explaining how critical it was for him to come clean for both of our sakes, assuring him that I would not leave him if he revealed the truth. I explained it was unjust to keep me in the dark and to behave deceitfully. He declined to tell me anything until she finally admitted it, which was deeply crushing to me. I am often filled with unresolved feelings and immense anger. Yes, we consulted 2 different marriage counselors. I walked out on the first one because she believed him when he claimed he was truthful about not having an affair. She and my husband exchanged texts during the evenings at times, which also troubled me. She thought it would be better for us to see a male counselor. I admit I became somewhat sensitive regarding females texting my husband at this point. It is finally off my chest. Now people can read my dirty laundry. I hate this situation, absolutely despise it. I never imagined that after so many years with my husband, I would find myself in this predicament. Unfortunately, I no longer love him as I once did. I will never regard our relationship as I did before. It feels dead. Many individuals describe infidelity in marriage as a death, and that is incredibly accurate. The couple that struggled through college, found jobs, secured homes, and committed to each other is no more. We are not the same couple, and I wrestle daily with identifying what kind of partnership we have today. For those wondering why stay, at the time our failing marriage became evident, we had 2 impressionable teenagers at home. I was working full-time while my husband had just retired. Our oldest was graduating from high school, COVID had us locked down, we were concerned about our child's medical condition, and I was in a complete mess trying to uncover the truth. I could not prove my husband was having an affair if the affair partner was also denying it. I did not want to leave my children, and he was not going to leave our home. I had asked him to go back to her since she was the one for whom he sacrificed everything, but he insisted that he wanted me. I do not feel fortunate hearing that from him. In fact, it would have been much easier if he had left so that I could harbor resentment toward him forever. Instead, I struggle not to hate him for what he has done to me and our family. He does attempt to make me happy, but sadly it feels too late in the game, it feels over. So that is what I grapple with daily, should I stay or should I go? This is a question that I find difficult to answer, along with pondering what would bring me true happiness being with him or living without him. I am not afraid of being alone. My children are now off at college and have no plans to return home. Yes, I believe they have issues with our relationship, but my son told me he is glad we stayed together. My daughter wants me to be happy and to do what is best for me. Therefore, I do not have any personal obligations to remain in this union. However, I feel my children want us to stay together deep down. Thank you very much for reading. Story 3. My boss said, "No job is worth your sanity," after I broke down from exhaustion at 23. I was just a fresh grad, my friend dumped it all on me. Now I'm pushed out of my own project, watching everything crumble. How did I end up here? Hello, everyone. I am a 23-year-old male and I need some opinions, so I will explain some ongoing situations. I will change details from real events since the individuals in this account use Reddit. Essentially, I joined a small startup in October 2024 under contract for a predetermined number of months. I was a recent graduate, and this was my first genuine job. The company is an event organization that also brands itself as a marketing consultancy. We primarily conduct marketing events such as roadshows and conventions for our clients. In the first few months, I quickly became friends with everyone at work and mainly managed documentation. A friend of mine who works at the company became my direct supervisor. As time passed, we were assigned a project to coordinate a convention for our clients. Apparently, my friend decided to make me the project manager. I was just 2 weeks into my position with no prior experience, and now I was a project manager. The worst part, due to the small size of our team, we were already overwhelmed with another ongoing project. I primarily learned from ChatGPT since my friend was occupied managing multiple projects. I was responsible for communicating with MCs, finding activities, and overseeing various tasks. Initially, this project had a 1-year deadline, which provided us with ample time to brainstorm ideas. However, eventually, our other project took precedence, and we spent 2 months traveling across the country promoting for our clients. During this time, discussions regarding the convention project were infrequent. On January 1st of this year, as we were nearing the conclusion of the other project, we received news that our initial proposal had been rejected because the company had decided to reduce the budget. We hurried to devise a new concept. I came up with an idea based on a game show, and we developed it, finalizing all the details before submitting it. Then, our client notified us that the budget was being reduced again, which required us to change hotels and locations. However, they liked my game show concept, so we retained that. What followed was complete chaos as we scrambled to find a new location, new activities, and new hotels. We devised 3 concepts: a racing event, a horse track, and a regular convention featuring my game show. One evening, our client arrived around 8 p.m. and proposed another idea: go-karting. He insisted on go-karting. Just to clarify, this occurred at 8 p.m. with the proposal deadline set for 10 a.m. the following morning. We worked through the night until 4 a.m. before submitting it. By 8 a.m., I was back at work, awaiting client feedback while the rest of the team opted to work from home. He responded on the same day, instructing us to discard all 3 ideas except for go-karting and the game show, and that all hotels had to be changed. The project deadline was now set for the first week of March, and we had only 3 days to develop a new concept, execute it, and secure a new hotel. We worked tirelessly to secure a new hotel closer to the go-kart venue and submitted the updated proposal. A day later, my colleague inquired about room occupancy. I explained what the hotel had offered me for king sharing, which meant 1 king bed for 2 people. My colleague indicated that this was unacceptable as the company had strict policies against it. I contacted the hotel, but they could not provide any alternatives. Consequently, I faced significant criticism from my boss and my friend regarding this issue, leading me to search for a new hotel. Ultimately, I secured a hotel that met all of our requirements. I had to resend another proposal, and while the client was pleased with the update, they also criticized me for mishandling the hotel situation. By early March, the client extended the deadline again, this time to the end of March. Nevertheless, the team was also working on another project with a deadline of March 7th. Since I was not involved in that project, I essentially worked on mine alone for 4 consecutive days, managing communications with the hotel, the go-kart venue, MCs, bands, and entertainment, while also handling documentation, checklists, briefing documents, agendas, crew briefs, and item lists. I was managing everything by myself, often leaving the office between 11 p.m. and 2 a.m. each day for over a week. One night after departing from the office at 11 p.m., I took a shower and broke down mentally and physically. I could no longer handle the pressure. It was apparent. I developed insomnia as a result of the workload. I worked weekends and I felt that everything I was doing was in vain. I remember coming to work looking disheveled and broken. I couldn't speak or think, I just kept moving forward. My friend continued to add more work to my plate. I began to forget details about the project and often spaced out while at the office. I even blacked out once while I was in the office, not sure what happened, but I just cannot recall that time period. I also began to gain weight due to stress eating. However, among everyone, it was my boss who noticed my decline and intervened to alleviate the burden. He assigned team members to assist me now that the other project had concluded. My documentation, checklists, and communications were transferred over. My boss even called my friend and me in for a meeting, telling us that we were both making foolish decisions. He explained that I was foolish for not requesting help, but when I explained that I had asked and was turned away due to everyone else being busy, he acknowledged my situation. He pointed out that while he was aware of the circumstances, I should have approached him sooner so that he could assign help. Then he told my friend he was foolish for placing so much work on me without checking on my progress. He emphasized that I was a recent graduate with no experience and was being forced to manage substantial documentation alone. He reassured me, saying that now, with the entire team involved, we would complete it successfully. Privately, he told me that it is just a job, and no position is worth sacrificing my mental health. With the team stepping in, conditions improved. I had time for personal matters instead of merely work, and I was finally able to leave the office at 7 p.m. instead of 1 or 2 a.m. However, by March 10th, I had to relocate offices because our old space was becoming cramped, and a new hire was joining the team. I moved into an office with the design team and continued working. That's when I began to realize that this transition was isolating me from communication with the rest of the team. I could not receive updates as promptly, which hindered my work. Then, I discovered that my role as project manager had been transferred from my friend to someone else. That hit me hard. It was significant because being the project lead or manager influenced our bonuses. It also left me feeling demoralized. I had been involved in this project since day one, and now I was being sidelined because I could not manage. I was furious. I still am. I worked incredibly hard for months only to be replaced. I was demoted to minor checklist roles and then informed not to even manage checklists because someone else would handle them. I was confused. I had completed everything, and now I was not permitted to interact with my own documents. I asked if there was anything for me to do, and they responded, just handle documentation, which was already completed. Now all I am managing is purchasing game products, which are nearly finished, and custom clothing, which is also close to completion. Then came the final blow. They began making changes to the project without informing me. I had already finalized a briefing but was suddenly instructed to revise it because the timetable had changed. I feel completely lost. I have been pushed out of my own project, potentially losing out on my bonus, having all my work scrutinized, and now I am not even informed about project changes. Worse yet, I thought that having the team involved would alleviate the pressure, but it hasn't. I am not allowed to manage my own documents, yet they constantly ask me questions regarding various details. They also ask me numerous questions, especially about technical aspects like wires, power outages, and other specifics, which I do not know. I never managed that side of the planning, and now I'm being blamed for not understanding it, although everything keeps changing and I am not kept in the loop. I was also recently criticized for not knowing the timing of a specific religious event in my country. I had discussed this matter with the hotel, and they provided me with specific timing. Soon after I lost control over communication with the hotels, I was told that this was not the correct timing. Like, what the heck? I even presented the evidence and was told that they had updated it and I should have stayed informed about it. I swear, I bit my tongue at that moment and wished for death. The irony is that I do not excel in this work. I tend to excel in physical tasks and leading a crew, but losing it all makes me feel that all my effort was in vain. I merely wanted to perform my job. I had no training, was thrown into the water and told to swim, only to be thrust into the fire and expected not to get burned. My final date is a week after the project concludes, and to be honest, I feel that this company has taken so much from me that I will never allow it to happen again. I plan to leave the moment my contract expires. I wrote this because a friend suggested it might be therapeutic and help me vent. All I know is that I am still angry and disappointed. I have gone through so much, and all I receive in return is being pushed to the sidelines while everything I worked on is altered. I have never felt so isolated. I am sitting in the office now, typing this with a pit in my stomach. If you read this lengthy post, thank you for taking the time. I am simply writing this out because I want to scream and all I can do is this. Story 4. My wife dropped a bombshell right before Christmas, saying she wanted a divorce after nearly 12 years, blaming my crises. Now, despite us trying to rekindle things, I feel more alone than ever. But after losing 40 pounds, can I win her back? I apologize in advance for the likelihood that this will be lengthy. In December 2024, approximately a week and a half before Christmas, my wife informed me that she wanted a divorce. She revealed that she had not been in love with me for some time but had struggled to express it because she did not want to hurt me. As of this writing, we have been married for nearly 12 years. She mentioned that she was simply exhausted from dealing with crisis after crisis involving me. To provide some context regarding what she means by all the crises, I am a chronic pain sufferer after a hit-and-run car accident left me with permanent severe damage to my neck and back. I have 6 bulging discs in my neck, 2 between my shoulder blades and 2 along my belt line, one of which is herniated. The muscles in my back and neck have also sustained permanent damage, resulting in what my pain doctor describes as chronic whiplash. Although he admits this is not a formal diagnosis, he explains that it best encapsulates my situation. I frequently visit doctors multiple times a year. Every 3 months, I receive around 30 steroid trigger point injections. Every 6 months, I undergo an epidural at my belt line, and every 9 months, I have the nerves in my neck ablated, burned away. The damage to my spine has additionally led to nerve damage in my hands and legs. As a consequence, my grip is weak, and I experience frequent falls. I have also suffered from chronic insomnia for as long as I can remember. I can recall telling my parents, more on them in the next paragraph, at least once a week, that I was unable to sleep regardless of my efforts. They never appeared to care, instead telling me to just close your eyes and count and you will fall asleep. This advice never worked. Currently, I manage to sleep only every other night. Regarding my parents, I have been no contact with them for almost 2 years after finally confronting them about the years of abuse they inflicted upon me. My mother epitomizes narcissistic behavior, while my father enables her actions and exemplifies toxic masculinity. I will not detail every terrible thing they have done to me, but a few examples include: when I was 6, my mother confessed to me that she had initially believed I would be a girl, had selected a girl's name, and upon discovering I was her second boy, expressed disappointment with me from that point on. She often reiterated that she never wanted boys and did not wish to be a mother to boys, among other things. At 13, I was diagnosed with type 2 bipolar disorder, resulting in frequent changes to my medication. This, in conjunction with puberty, led to episodes of rage where I felt overwhelmed and like a stranger in my own body. I would cry and shout for help, only for my mother to confine me in a 5-foot by 8-foot windowless bathroom for hours. She would frequently criticize my appearance, weight, facial hair, and clothing choices. When I confronted her regarding the impact of her words on my feelings, she would retreat to her room in tears, followed by my father hitting me and demanding I respect your mother. I could continue detailing their behavior indefinitely. For the past 2 years, I have been attending therapy to heal from my experiences with them. Since October, I have embarked on a journey toward better health. I have diabetes and my A1C levels have been exceptionally high. Despite my efforts in exercise and diet, I continue to gain weight. However, we discovered that one of my bipolar medications might be the cause, so we switched it, and I recommitted to my diet and exercise regimen. For the first time since I was 21, I am losing weight. Since October, I have lost nearly 40 pounds, and all my diabetes-related levels have improved from dangerously high to healthy ranges. I feel better than ever, and for the first time in my life, I am pleased with my appearance. My wife mentioned that one of her reasons for wanting to leave me is my occasional anger outbursts. I tend to yell, and these episodes usually last 2 to 3 minutes before I regain control. Throughout our 12 years of marriage, I have never physically harmed her or our children during these moments of anger. I merely clench my fists and shout for a minute or two before falling silent and retreating. She indicates that my outbursts frighten her, and I cannot blame her. My therapist and I have been addressing anger management, among other issues, for some time now. Returning to my experience of loneliness, there were approximately 6 weeks this past winter when my wife and I were unofficially separated. We chose to reside in the same house for the sake of our children, but I set up a bed in my office to avoid sharing a bed. During this period, I confided in my wife that I was leaving our church, Mormon Church, after 20 years of feeling unwelcome due to my decision at 18 to forgo serving a Mormon mission because of my bipolar disorder. I live in Utah, where the local Mormon culture can be particularly toxic for men who do not serve missions. Since about the last week of January, we decided to give our relationship another chance, and we have commenced couples counseling. She has also begun attending weekly therapy sessions, while I have continued to see my therapist weekly. However, I am still sleeping in a separate bed and room, we hardly engage in cuddling, and I constantly feel as though I am walking on eggshells around her. I cannot shake the feeling that I might make a mistake and lose her all over again. I have experienced one or two minor anger episodes since January, but they were very minor. I have tried and failed to be flirty with her by sending suggestive pictures, which she eventually requested I stop, stating she was over them. This hurt me because I finally feel happy about my appearance for the first time in our marriage, yet she does not wish to see those pictures. I have been spending less time at home, opting to hang out with friends to avoid risking upsetting my wife. When we watch shows and movies, I sit on a separate couch until she invites me to join her. I have made it clear that I will not try to initiate intimacy with her and that she can take the lead when she feels comfortable. She has a significantly lower libido than I do, and for about 2 years now, we have had an arrangement allowing me to address my needs, which are much more frequent than hers as necessary. Things are generally going well. We hug and express our love for each other, but I often feel overwhelmingly lonely. To cope, I have turned to listening to ASMR audio recordings of women, pretending to be the listener's wife or girlfriend just to hear someone affirm how proud they are of my hard work and acknowledge my struggles while expressing love. I apologize again for the length of this message. I simply do not know how to alleviate my feelings of loneliness. I carry significant trauma, which has created a wedge between my wife and me. We are making efforts to save our marriage, yet I continue to feel isolated. Before anyone suggests that she might be unfaithful, I assure you she is not. She is not that type of person, and I am not either. We are loyal to one another. We are just feeling strained at the moment. I needed to share this. It has been a challenging 5 months, and although I am doing my utmost to remain positive about the future, it is difficult not to worry at times. Thank you for listening.